Beneath the ruins of wars already won lies another battlefield, one of silence, shadows and files locked away in dust-choked archives. Here, the truth is not declared but buried, its fragments scattered across forgotten cables, sealed crates, and nameless graves. Each classified page bleeds with secrets too volatile to surface, whispers of weapons and missions erased before they could be confessed. What survives is not history. It is the echo of history's deepest conspiracies, waiting to be unearthed. In the final weeks of the Third Reich, March 1945, while Allied bombers flattened German cities and Soviet forces pressed in on Berlin, an obscure Kriegsmarine operation was quietly assembled in the naval yards of Kiel. Codenamed Eisenwelle, Ironwave, the mission appears in fragmentary Kriegsmarine traffic intercepted by Bletchley Park, yet the surviving files are heavily redacted, the decrypted transcripts offering only cryptic references to special cargo and priority transfer, East Asia Command. Intelligence officers suspected it was one of the desperate last attempts to transfer advanced technology and war materials to Japan, Germany's only remaining Axis partner still fighting. According to fragmentary convoy manifests, the flotilla included at least two Type D2 U-boats, likely U-234, and an unidentified sister vessel, escorted by smaller Type 7 boats. What drew attention among Allied cryptanalysts was the mention of sealed containers marked U-element, a cipher believed to reference uranium oxide. In April 1945, the USS Sutton intercepted U-234 en route to Japan, confirming the presence of uranium, though the exact weight and purity of the seized cargo were never made public. Yet Bletchley decrypts suggest that U-234 was only one of several vessels attached to Eisenwelle. The mission file trails off, abruptly cut in mid-transmission, with no surviving record of interception or surrender for the second boat. In the years following the war, peculiar discoveries along the Norwegian coastline raised questions. Local fishermen reported snagging nets on twisted metal hulls bearing no Kriegsmarine identification numbers. In December 1944, the frozen forests of the Ardennes became the setting for Hitler's last great gamble. Wacht am Rhein, the Ardennes offensive, remembered as the Battle of the Bulge. Amid the chaos of advancing panzer divisions and surrounded American units, a lesser-known OSS mission unfolded under the codename Black Lantern. According to scattered records in declassified OSS files, the unit was composed of 12 men drawn from Detachment 101 and elements of the 504th Parachute Infantry Regiment, specially trained in demolition, infiltration, and the use of forged Wehrmacht uniforms. Their orders, dated December 16th, directed them to penetrate German lines near Bastogne and destroy a command relay bunker believed to coordinate SS panzer movements. What followed after their departure remains one of the enduring mysteries of the Ardennes. By December 22nd, no radio transmissions were received from the team, and the OSS station at Spa marked the mission as out of contact. German war diaries, recovered post-war, mentions strange reports of English-speaking infiltrators captured wearing mismatched Feldgrau uniforms, some bearing insignia not corresponding to known divisions. A 1946 Belgian military report listed unmarked graves outside Houffalize containing bodies in a mix of American and German kit, yet no identities were ever confirmed. More disturbingly, fragments of decrypted Wehrmacht Enigma traffic recovered by TICOM units reference an Amerikanische Phantom Company captured intact and delivered to Sonderlager Ost. Historians later speculated this meant a special transfer to the Eastern Front, where Soviet counterintelligence may have received the captives for interrogation. No repatriation lists after 1945 included their names, and families of the missing received only vague killed in action notices. In the Cold War years, CIA memoranda surfaced noting that Soviet Smersh units interrogated American operatives during 1945 in Poland and Ukraine. Though identities were redacted, whether these belonged to the Black Lantern men remains unproven. In Bastogne today, a small stone cross marks unknown American soldiers, but whispered among veterans is the idea that an entire OSS company vanished not into death, but into silence, erased somewhere between the Ardennes forests and the Soviet Gulag system. In May 1945, as the Red Army pushed through Czechoslovakia and Nazi authority crumbled in Prague, a race for intelligence and technology unfolded behind the facade of liberation. Eyewitnesses describe Soviet Smersh detachments arriving at the WWII Ministry of Transport building on Hybernska Street, where abandoned SS vaults were discovered in the sub-basements. Crates bore the Reichsadler seal of the Reichsarchiv and were marked with codes associated with the Ahnenerbe and Waffen-SS Hygiene Institute. Surviving fragments from Czech railway logs confirm that entire train cars were loaded with these containers and dispatched east under Soviet guard. The operation was codenamed Vistula, referenced obliquely in a 1946 Soviet General Staff memorandum, uncovered decades later in Moscow. Western witnesses, including members of the Czechoslovak resistance, reported the cargo included microfilm reels cataloguing forced labor experiments, notes on nerve agents, and testimonies from field trials in concentration camps. American intelligence was furious at the Soviet seizure. A declassified CIA memorandum from 1962 complained that unparalleled biological assets had been removed from Prague before US forces could secure them. Meanwhile, Czech officials have consistently denied the existence of such archives, citing destroyed records during the Prague uprising. Yet unexplained gaps exist in both Soviet and Allied medical research files, particularly concerning early studies in anthrax dispersal and frozen tissue survival, areas which appear in Soviet programs shortly after 1945, without clear origin. An OSS officer stationed in Pilsen wrote in his diary that truck convoys, escorted by T-34s, moved crates with the utmost urgency, while we were ordered to stand down. After the Cold War, Czech historians searching state archives discovered entire file registers missing from May 8th to May 12th, 1945. Local memory recalls trains leaving Prague's Bubny station at night, their freight sealed, their destinations classified. Whether these archives were destroyed, hidden, or absorbed into secret Soviet research remains uncertain. But the silence surrounding them, the abrupt redactions, the denials, the missing pages, suggests the Prague extraction was no mere battlefield seizure, but a deliberate intelligence coup erased from official memory. The ruins of Peenemünde on the Baltic coast are remembered for the V-2 rocket, the world's first ballistic missile. But deeper within its shattered infrastructure lay references to a subcomplex known in scattered Allied documents as Werk 1. When the Combined Intelligence Objectives Subcommittee, CIOS, surveyed Peenemünde in the summer of 1945, their technical reports noted restricted zones sealed by SS guards, areas never entered even by regular Wehrmacht personnel. Fragments from a British Air Ministry file dated July 1946, still partially classified, describe experimental assemblies with high-voltage magnetic containment and plasma discharge chambers, terminology far removed from conventional rocketry. Several engineers interrogated under Operation Paperclip, among them Dr. Walter Riedel and Magnus von Braun, admitted hearing rumors of shielded test halls where only Totenkopf engineers with special passes could enter. Curiously, when von Braun's team was transferred to the United States, names of at least 8 engineers believed to have worked at Peenemünde disappear from all records, their personnel files marked extracted, but with no destination listed. MI6 intercept summaries suggest that some of these men boarded Condor transport flights routed through Spain and possibly onward to Argentina, though the manifests remain blank. American files on Operation Paperclip contain entire pages blacked out, particularly those referencing exotic propulsion and Werk 9. Eyewitness accounts from local villagers mention heavy transports moving from Peenemünde to the port of Swinemünde in early 1945, guarded by Waffen-SS units, but the cargo itself was never identified. When Soviet technical teams arrived in July 1945, they reported that entire sublevels of the complex had been dynamited, leaving only collapsed tunnels. Yet scattered mentions in KGB archives, revealed after 1991, reference energetic propulsion technologies of German origin, tested near Novgorod in 1947. No official history of Peenemünde includes WWII, yet its shadow lingers in erased names, redacted pages, and ruins that suggest more was destroyed than the world was meant to see. In the spring of 1952, NATO reconnaissance flights over the Arctic detected a Soviet vessel adrift in the Barents Sea, drifting dangerously close to the ice floes near Novaya Zemlya. Codenamed Silent Shore. In internal Allied communiques, the ETAM incident was initially reported as a routine maritime recovery. Yet when British and American observers were flown to Tromsø to assist, they found the Soviet ship deserted, its crew missing, bulkheads scorched, and compartments partially flooded. What drew particular alarm were cargo crates discovered in the hold, some stenciled with Cyrillic designations for special materials, others still bearing faint Waffenamt markings, German armaments inspection stamps not seen since 1945. According to a Royal Navy after-action report, fragments of unfamiliar ordnance components were photographed before Soviet officers abruptly seized the vessel and towed it under heavy guard toward Murmansk. By the following year, all references to Silent Shore vanished from NATO cables, leaving only a handful of redacted memoranda in the archives of Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers Europe, SHAPE. Declassified CIA summaries decades later note speculation that the cargo originated from a lost Axis convoy, possibly one of the last Kriegsmarine operations attempting to move advanced weapons northward through Norway at war's end. Russian veterans have quietly claimed that the vessel carried remnants of a German Feuerkraft program, experimental incendiary ordnance intended for long-range bombardment. Others suggest it was linked to uranium shipments once bound for Japan, diverted into Soviet hands through Arctic smuggling routes. No crew bodies were ever recovered, and Soviet naval records make no mention of a lost ship in that sector. The wreck itself was never made public, and modern Russian military archives remain sealed. To this day, the Barents Sea incident is treated by NATO historians as a minor Cold War footnote, yet the silence surrounding it, the missing photographs, and the erased cables suggest something more, an inheritance of Hitler's war that surfaced briefly in the Arctic cold, only to vanish again into classified vaults. The official records end, but the silence lingers, a silence heavier than truth. Somewhere beneath layers of redaction and denial, the missing pieces still exist, unseen, unclaimed, untouched by daylight. They remain like dormant mines beneath, the soil of memory, waiting for someone to stumble too close. And when they do, what emerges may not be revelation, but something colder, the realization that some wars never end, they only shift into darker forms, hidden from the world above.